So when I talk about my personal mystical experiences, thus far I haven't really succeeded at making them particularly interesting. I do have at least a song I can play at the end of this video, which is about Event 4. You know, some of the events in my life are actually interesting, but like the ones that shaped my personality are only, there's only 4 of them so far. I've talked about 3 of them before, and I can summarize those 3. The first one, I was like 12 years old, and the kids kind of made fun of me on the playground, and I felt like my weaknesses were see-through at that time, and I feel like that my life would be defined by my strengths kind of being, ignored, and my weaknesses being the only thing that people care about. And this was reinforced when I was 15. This is Event 2, and I was in a math class. I was like really good at math, but I had this crush on this girl in the math class of the higher grade that I sort of, got myself into. But she didn't even know that I liked her, and that kind of like shocked me to the core, because I had whipped up a whole fantasy, and she wasn't even mean. She just didn't even know that I had any interest at all. But she was going out with somebody else, and that's what she said. And that sort of that pulled the floor out from under me, and I sort of fell into some kind of abyss psychologically. And I was in that abyss. I just stopped doing all my schoolwork, and I was in that abyss until I was 19, and then I discovered Joseph Campbell, and the things that he said sort of activated in me like this idea of like the heroic journey, about kind of how somebody who didn't have any credentials and wasn't necessarily approved of by society could actually be a big hero and save the world. And that idea like culminated a few months later in my mystical vision, in which I passed through a circle and into a white light. Event 4 happened several years later. Maybe I was about, let's say, 25. When I was 23, I had thought, okay, I've been on my heroic quest for a sufficient amount of time. Now it's time for me to create something. And I thought, well, I love video games, so I'll create a video game. And that would be the return journey of the heroic quest. I will bring back the boon, and it will be this creation. And I thought of this piece of music. I thought of this notion like war with the machines, something like the Terminator, the Terminator movies, and accompanying it was a little theme song. I only had 8 measures of this theme song for basically about 12 years before I actually wrote more of it. I was interested in making the video game for about 2 months or 3 months, and then slowly kind of just faded into the back of my mind. But then about 2 years later, I had a dream which I call Event 4, in which I lived in a 7-layer city, like 7 squares layered on top of each other, and I lived on the 4th floor, and I was in like a little shack, and I was the maintenance person of this 7-layer city. And it reminded me of like Central Park or Golden Gate Park, if you've ever been to San Francisco. And anyway, I'm like just the maintenance person, and I'm in my hut, and there's a knock on the door, and there's a kind of a tall, skinny woman who asked me, if it's me, and I say yeah, and then she says that she has my baby. And I didn't recognize her. And at first I was kind of like angry that someone should accuse me of them having my baby. But slowly, she just sort of like laid out the evidence, and we took a walk, and she basically convinced me that that I might actually have this baby, and I'm supposed to raise it somehow. So when I woke up from the dream, it didn't take me long to remember the video game and think, oh, that's my baby. That's the thing I'm supposed to raise. But I've actually been extremely ineffective at, if this happened when I was 25, then it's like almost 15 years later that I still haven't produced the video game. But nonetheless, it kind of gave me a focus. 4 years ago, I decided, okay, I guess I'm not going to make the video game, so I should write a book. And I think I will eventually succeed at finishing the book, because it's actually easier than making a video game. I did finish more of the song, and I'll end this video by playing that. Here's the song that would eventually accompany the video game if I ever finished it.